Hello, and welcome to the TI Precision Lab series on current sense amplifiers. My name is Patrick Simmons, and I'm an applications engineer in the current sensing and position sensing product line. In this video, we continue our discussion on debug, this time focusing on some of the errors resulting from overlooked specifications. Having in prior videos covered layout, probe placement, and solder issues, we will now focus on some errors that arise from overlooking certain device specifications. For our first example, we are trying to measure 10 amps across a 5 milliohm shunt. With a 50 volt per volt gain INA 180, we expect 2.5 volts on the output. Yet, we measure 0.32 millivolts. That is a huge difference. With a 5 volt supply, we know there should not be any issues. So what are we overlooking? Well, in this case, it turns out to be something quite simple. Whoever made the part for the layout program accidentally swapped the input pins. Since the INA 180 is a unidirectional device, when the current flows in the reverse direction, the output rails to ground, making the device look like it's not working. A related mistake to this is swapping the polarity of your wires when breadboarding, or swapping the polarity when you're drawing your board traces. While these are very, very simple mistakes, they are quite easy to overlook. Be sure to quickly rule out these kind of mistakes early, and on that note, TI conveniently has schematic symbols, footprints, and 3D models available for many of our devices, which can help you save time and avoid mistakes like the last example. To download our vetted models, go to ti.com. Then on the device webpage, click Design and Development, and then select the CAD Symbols tab so that you can click the View Options link. From there, you will be directed to our Ultra Librarian Model Repository. As you can see, we accommodate several different layout programs. Now, let's look at a case where we attempt to get a little creative to get around a device limitation. In this instance, we have a 50 volt bus, and we want to use the INA 226 to help us take a power measurement. Unfortunately, we are constrained at 36 volts max for a bus measurement. Consequently, we decide to use a voltage divider to scale down the bus, and we plan to use a scaling factor in the post-processing. Upon testing our layout, we find the measured bus is several volts off from what we expect despite using low tolerance resistors in our divider. So, what specification are we overlooking? In this particular case, we should have considered the bus input impedance, which, in this instance, is a resistance. After accounting for the typical INA 226 bus resistance, we calculate 31.97 volts for an expected bus voltage, which is pretty close to what we measured. The difference can be attributed to the tolerance of the input bus resistance. While not stated in the datasheet, the tolerance may be around plus or minus 15%. Consequently, if you are looking for precise measurements, you may need to consider another part with a higher bus voltage specification. While on the topic of power monitors, let's look at another example involving the INA 226. In this case, we are told we need to be able to measure 100 microamps to 2 amps and keep the power dissipated across the shunt at 30 milliwatts. While investigating the part, we find some useful design formulas. One we use to calculate the LSB value for our current register when the max current is 2 amps. From that calculation, we see that we get a value that is below the range minimum. As we conveniently have several 10 milliohm resistors on hand, we decide to use those, especially since they yield a power dissipation for 2 amps that is below 30 milliwatts. Based upon that shunt, we get a cal value of roughly 8389, which we use to back calculate the adjusted current LSB. We thereupon write the cal value to our calibration register and specify we will be taking the max conversion time and the max number of averages for the shunt voltage measurements in our configuration registers. After writing to the device registers, we source 100 microamps across our shunt from an E-load. To our dismay, we read that the INA226 is measuring 244 microamps. What is wrong with our part? We decide to probe across our shunt, and we do see that it is in fact 1 microvolt, as it should be. Yet, if we back calculate what our measured shunt voltage is from our current register value, we get 2.44 microvolts. This is nearly double the actual value. Did we overlook something in our configuration? Yes, in fact, it turns out that we overlooked the 1 LSB step size for the shunt voltage as well as the offset voltage specification. The minimum shunt voltage is 2.5 microvolts. If we divide that by our shunt value, we find that actually 250 microamps is the lowest we could ever hope to measure, and that corresponds to 4 LSBs. In reality, there will likely be some voltage offset, and we should expect the output to be even higher. With the offset voltage, we might see 4 to 8 LSBs for the cal setting we chose in this situation. We have yet another case involving a INA226 power monitor. In this instance, we would like to measure up to at least 20 amps. In this case, we use the current LSB as before, and this time calculate that our corresponding shunt value is roughly 4 milliohms. We don't have a 4 milliohm shunt on hand, but we figure 10 milliohms is close enough, and that will give us a better minimum resolution. So we proceed with that value to calculate cal. After writing this value to the calibration register, the INA226 will scale the current and power registers according to the maximum expected current. We subsequently tried to hook up our INA226 and run through a series of measurements to see if we get what we expect. Around 10 amps, we begin to see some behavior we are not expecting. The power appears to plateau despite our external meters indicating that both the bus and current levels are rising. Did we possibly set up the device incorrectly? Actually, yes. By choosing a shunt larger than 4 milliohms, we lowered the minimum current we can detect, yet we nearly halved the max current we can detect due to the shunt voltage input range limitation of the device. To see this more readily, we should look at the registers upon which the power register is calculated. By looking at the shunt voltage register and the bus voltage register, we are able to see why the power register exhibits the curve we observed. To avoid this problem, we should verify that our shunt resistor is below the shunt max value. So, as you may have gathered from the last two examples, it is important to observe the input limits of the current shunt monitor device. As current range depends on multiple variables, we typically do not have a current range specification in the datasheet. However, the feasible range can be determined given certain conditions from your design. Here is a basic summary of bounding constraints for both our analog and digital monitor devices. During an initial assessment with the device, you might encounter some challenges with getting a wide enough measurement range. For our analog devices, increasing the supply within the recommended operating range might help. As for our digital devices, it might be as simple as changing a configuration setting for the ADC. However, if these simple approaches still fall short, then you may need to consider another device, one that has lower input voltage offset and lower input bias current. Lastly, if another part does not provide the range you need, you will need to get a little creative, such as multiplexing through shunt resistors or adjusting gain settings, such as in this TI design. In summary, checking the device pinout in ABS Max table may reveal a simple mistake. To help minimize layout mistakes, TI offers pre-made models online. When laying out the current shunt monitors, remember that the current monitors are complex circuits with finite internal impedances that can interact with whatever network they are interfaced with. As such, these impedances are often documented in the datasheet. Along with the impedance are several other specifications in the electrical characteristics section, which you should check to ensure you are operating in the normal linear range. While working with power monitors, first debug the fundamental measurements like the shunt and bus voltages before proceeding to calculated values like the current and power. While current range is not listed online nor in the datasheet, it can be derived from your operating conditions and device specs. That concludes this video. Thank you for watching. Please try the quiz to check your understanding of the content. For more information and videos on current sense amplifiers, please visit ti.com/current sense.